It is Kristi and Katrina at the DK 805 podcast. We're so happy to see you again. Katrina has a few questions and wants to introduce you.
Yeah, I just wanted to start in and say what a pleasure to have you come on and speak with us, to come out and speak about our boys with you and how you just were so kind with us and so many people we've come to see. And like we just spoke with a young gal we had on right now before you, who did her story of her sister. And I just wanted to thank you for coming on. And we'll just start with that how much hope you give parents and siblings and brothers and fathers and just the light that you are. And I looked back into sort of the research format that you started in 2007, if I'm correct, in your productions, but going into that, starting where you then began this.
It has been kind of a peculiar journey when I started Texas Pictures. Yeah, that was in 2007. And for the first 12, 13 years, most of the work that we did was industrial production work, like training and safety videos and business to business kind of communications, and occasionally a documentary. And that would usually be for the Houston Police Department, which was one of our clients and still is one of our clients. And then this fentanyl stuff came along. Because of the work we did with the Houston Police Department, we got known with other law enforcement agencies and Mothers Against Drunk Driving, who's also one of our clients. And from there, that led to the DEA hiring us to do stories very much like we're still doing at a fentanyl family summit that they put on here in Houston. And when we put those stories on our channel, it really took off. And so we started hearing from people all over the country who wanted us to come there and do the same for them. So we started doing
so
it.
many. Yeah, so many. I can only imagine just in that, like when it took off, when we say that word for me, my son had passed in the height of, the 2022 of that, but and that you added in the weed psychoses, because there's so many stories of layering in for the families that need to share their stories. And so I checked many boxes on the boxes when I came to speak. So did I think Kristi
For sure. There's a whole lot of crossover between topics like the fentanyl stories and the recovery stories. Many of the fentanyl stories are recovery stories with that one last relapse.
Right. It's that one last risk. Right.
That one slip, that one bad moment or whatever.
Right.
But there's a whole lot of crossover between the recovery stories, the fentanyl stories, and the cannabis stories.
Yeah.
And there's crossover with the domestic violence stories and the human trafficking stories as well. That illicit drugs play a role in a lot of those things, and trying to recover plays a role in a lot of those stories as well. That when we started getting so much attention on our channel because of the fentanyl stories, it seemed important to do what we could to make the most of the audience and have some stories, especially the recovery stories, because the recovery stories end with some hope.
Yes, the hope, absolutely.
And that's I think that's a big deal. We in the comments and the responses that we get, or the comments that we get from viewers on YouTube, a lot of times the comments will be from someone who is in recovery, new to recovery, just wishing they were in recovery, and to be able to direct them to the other series to say, hey, we also have this.
Yeah.
And you can find
the follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, the recovery stories don't get the attention that the fentanyl stories do. Wish they did.
Yeah, we often incorporate many in the recovery and what it takes to stay recovered, the work that it takes to stay recovered with our boys, both in that journey of seeking that, that road. But having Kristi be with where we are now with together and doing the podcast, having that be a big part of where we want to share, because if we stay stuck in just that loss of the fentanyl fight, that crisis, which we are, to raise that awareness, that we weren't having anyone share the stories. There was no news about it. But this recovery portion part that's hope. There's hope in that. There's that we all are in this together. There's a community and with Kristi.
There's different wordings that start to develop.
Yeah.
Like when my son originally passed away, everybody would tell me he overdosed. And I still catch myself saying overdosed. He didn't overdose. He was poisoned. He was poisoned.
So in that, we've found that just for ourselves, words matter with how when we have had other parents come on and siblings for us. So, we just thank you so much for, just how you spoke for me. I can only speak for myself in that moment, and so much kindness and compassion and just your heart and how you do that. That was like, I left that day just saying, because I know how I feel when we have had several on in a week, or we've talked during the month, and there's a lot of like, because I carry it all, like I want to like take all the pain away from that person, but how in the early stage, how do you release it for yourself, what you take in and hear from all these behind the camera when you're there and you do that so kindly?
Well, I get this question a lot, and I don't find it difficult.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't find it difficult is I know how it's going to end. I know when the storyteller gets up after the interview, they feel better.
Yeah.
They're lighter than
Feel
when
heard.
they sat down.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I get to see that over and over and over. And maybe that feeling only lasts a couple of minutes or an hour or two or whatever, but I get to see that happen again and again and again after taking someone through the most painful day of their lives, usually.
Yes.
And I know about what else happens at the end. There's these.
Yes. And your, which we just honor and wear because we are. The storytellers are how we keep our stories, our children, our loved ones alive in that way, in ourselves, their spirits. That storytelling, it's ancient, goes back so many, tribal, to have it be storytelling where you're sharing and keeping that movement alive, and versus staying stuck in the tragedy and then and moving in from that, and then we just we speak on signs and the things that come to us and things that we know, like you said, when you see the face of a parent that just shares, or the person sharing, that feeling that validates again, and then we feel it too. We laugh in the podcast when we're speaking with people. There's that moments of that are the light and the hope of that. Yes, this is in the community that is this healing community of support for, whether you're in the active addiction fight as a parent, which we speak on that, because that's the journey, that's a painful journey. And then what to do after, if they're in recovery, support that's needed for that. And in this fentanyl crisis that we still need to speak on, because there's still people not knowing what fentanyl is and how that is affecting, or how it is getting into every substance. So we're just like raising awareness, but in that time, it's like there's so many layers, so many things.
And there's so much. There's still a lot of ignorance out there.
Yeah.
When it comes to things, there was one of our storytellers was talking with an elected official in her state, and she offered this elected official. This is an elected official. He offered her Narcan, and she said, "Here, do you want one of these?" And the elected official said to a bereaved parent, the elected official said, "Oh no, I talk to my kids."
Most ignorant words.
Oh God, the three most ignorant was not to my child, and it's incredible, and it's so painful. That is huge that you just shared. I just posted something and your video. It was on your video, and not my child.
Not my child.
Not my child.
Yeah, we hear that in the interviews. Used to hear it more than we do now.
Yes, I talk to my child.
But yeah, so
no, I talked to my child, and we talked and we
no
talked.
Thanks. I talked to my child.
Yes,
and
no
saying
thanks.
that to someone who lost a child, there's an implied insult in that.
Yes,
There's not just the ignorance of
Like I
of
didn't
not
talk to my kid.
Right. And
Yeah.
in that too, like you're saying, like I hear you say, I'm just gonna say, breaking the stigma, the shame that comes along with like we're supposed to be stamped with. No, we're raising awareness though. So even that, and that, how sad for that moment, and for that person, but that's on them. They'll have to, like, like look back at their bird's eye view at their what their actions are set, there's what they said to someone, because
right.
all we're here to do is be kind and compassionate to another person's journey that we know, if it isn't going to be, it might be something else. If it's not going to be, God forbid, anything to happen to anyone, that is our whole prayer. That's why we're raising the awareness. But if you have that Narcan, you can, and we can just go down, where we live in is a very, affluent area. There should be, again, but there are people still just in every corner in life that you could run across someone that might need that. Grab it in your car, you have it, and you can save a life. It's not
Right.
like that it is, just in your neighborhood or just somewhere else. It's like, it's absolute, everyone should be carrying Narcan in their car, which I do, and in purses, handed out. That's stunning. That's shocking.
And it is not a complicated thing to administer
No.
naloxone. I I kind of have a thing. So I have these 2 boxes here. We do these live events on our channel. So
Yeah.
I have Narcan in another box that are exactly the same. They're identical in terms of performance. They both have 4 milligrams of naloxone. They're exactly the same, but only one says Narcan. Both of them say naloxone, but only
Okay.
one says Narcan. And so I sometimes kind of make a big deal out of that. Be sure and get the word naloxone in there
Right.
also.
Right.
I even have I have a graphic that I bring up when I do the live events that shows this range of different. Okay, this will be cute. Why this will be? I'll just come over here, and just like that,
Yeah.
all of those
Mhm.
boxes are the same. They all have nasal sprayers, just like this, and they all have naloxone, but only one says Narcan on it.
Yes.
So
So
anyway,
yeah, thank you, getting that, the verbiage out, having the words, because again, it's a Narcan and naloxone. That being said, like if you only knew Narcan, know the words, know
yeah,
what is accessible. Yes.
on our channel, we hear from commenters who are just, well, they're misinformed. They'll say things like, "Well, Narcan is better than naloxone." It's the same thing,
It's the same thing.
and so we really try, because we hear that kind of thing fairly frequently, and
Yes.
that's a life risking misconception.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the awareness right there. Absolutely, to share that. There was someone that had sent me where she was excited that she had found this, and because she was trying to in some way interact with, my loss, and it was a dear friend, but she said, "Oh, I just wanted to call you and tell you that I had seen on a counter test strips for, for fentanyl on a counter at a store." And I kind of hit me a little, wrong to think that there would be, people in my mind, I'm like, so testing for fentanyl in the drugs, because of course we know we are not going to stop the drug usage, but it can be that if you have the test strips for those that are going to, like, that still happen. This is in my mind, I would pray that it was just don't do it, but it's going to, like the Burning Man, the different raves and the ages that are going, and they're still going and they're still doing that. And when she sent that, I was like, wait, I am going to do a post about this, just so it's an awareness. It's breaking that stigma of like, okay, we're not shaming. This is more like, have something so you can make sure you're going to go home from that moment, that
Yeah.
time.
Now there's some things about the test strips, at least the ones that I've used. We've used them a couple of times because we've done hidden camera stuff in Mexico, which is a whole other story. But we to use a test strip, the most common kind, the kind that I see at awareness events and that kind of thing. You take the pill that you want to test, you crush it, dissolve it in water, stir the test strip in the water, and then give the test strip, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, and it'll give an indication. And the idea of a user being up for dissolving their fix in water. That's a
Right.
challenge for some
It is.
because their goal is to snort it, smoke it, inject it,
Right.
not drink it. If it passes the test, then you can do it by drinking the mixture, but it's not the
Yeah.
same. And
It,
that's just, and you have to test every one.
it definitely, that's why my spidey senses went up when she sent it. It was more like I was, it was nice that she was thinking of me and like, hey, I wanted to, it's getting awareness is out there is what it kind of looked like to her. And as a mom, I did say on the post, I said, we don't want anyone doing drugs because first, when you're in that state of mind, my son would often be in psychosis, or if you're not in a level-headed thinking, you're not doing all these steps. You're not going to do all those steps. So that's another huge awareness. Thank you
There's
for bringing
things
that point
like,
up. Right.
I hear about users say, well, I'm just going to break off a piece and I'm going to test the piece. And if the piece tests positive, then the rest is okay. And there's this thing called the chocolate chip cookie effect, where even in a single pill, the bulk of the drug could be just on one half of it.
Yeah, I often get, when we get the questions, the comments on ours, well, why would someone take fentanyl, or why would someone buy a fake pill? Those kinds of comments. And we go through, or I spent some time in the beginning trying to answer each one. So there would be an awareness and, just the logical answer. And then it becomes to where you just kind of have to just stamp on there like a logical point of like a blanket statement, basically, of, so no one intends to take a fake pill. So they're in their own anxiety. A lot of times they're a student at school that's buying a pill for studying an Adderall. We've talked about those things the access to them, whether it's through, Snapchat or different ways they can get them, they're not intending to buy. They're not taking fentanyl. It's a poisoning in that because they're taking something that they should be seeking through an obvious, and that's the obvious, through a doctor or talking to their parent, but that isn't always going to happen. That just doesn't that's not the world we live in. It's not been teenagers. It's not been college students from day one. So now with this layer of the poison, it's more like we just need to continue to have this conversation and grow that conversation of that it is layered in there. 7 out of 10 pills, I think, is what I think it was 7 out of 10 pills just that are brought in from the cartel or, in that illegal way are pure fentanyl.
And
yes.
go ahead. No. What I was, I'll piggyback off you. You finish your statement.
Okay.
And then I'll go
that'd
right
be a
after
good
you.
video, wouldn't it? So the number that I hear is 7 to 10, sometimes 6 to 10. It kind of fluctuates back and forth.
Yeah.
But understanding why it's in there because it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's just a money thing.
Yep.
It's way cheaper to use a synthetic opioid than a natural opioid. Not that natural opioids are any better.
Right.
But to make heroin, you need opium, you need the poppy plant, you need harvesting, shipping, all these kind of things. Whereas fentanyl happens in a lab, start
Precursors.
to finish.
Yes, start to finish, completely.
Yeah, and so it's much more concentrated, so it lasts longer. It'll produce more for less money.
And the whole intent is, pain and suffering, period. It's pain and suffering at the cost for $1. It's money and greed, and it's at the loss of this generation. That's where we're at with it. And how does the fact that we're even able to hear about it now or have conversations where it was, when the news wasn't talking about it, and it just is hopeful to know that we are getting somewhere with having it be the conversations, like I said, but also to that people, I just pray that fewer and fewer people will have such comments of the ignorance part. I think a lot of them are young people that are seeking out interesting or maybe like seeking out they hear someone's, the Instagram and social media is sort of like doom scrolling or looking for things. And if they see loss of life, then they're not on that for the right reasons to begin with. But their questions are, hopefully we can give them an answer if it does come up in their life, that they have at least a real answer.
Well, and I think one of the things that needs to be focused on for our youth, for the next generation, is I think we need to start normalizing sobriety. That is what I want, is to normalize sobriety. Because living in a culture where we're educating people about drug use is important, but accepting those that don't want to partake in any of that type of behavior is equally as important. I
For
don't know
sure.
where we went from. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how we got here. I mean, I do know. I do know, but I don't know at the same time.
Well,
And
we know that the
so
fentanyl crisis, I mean, that started with, again, that we had, we had massive things happening. We had wide open borders. We have all the issues that we know can lead up to where
well,
it
it
can be.
started in the pharmaceutical company as well. It started pharmaceutically as well. And we have I believe in medications, and I do believe that there's illnesses that need to be treated with those as well. But we live in a society that medicates for almost everything and
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
And you're taught from a young age, let me just use grief as an example. I need to put my grief in a box and put it on a shelf, and I'll be over it
or
in
take
2
an
years, or
antidepressant.
take an antidepressant.
Mm.
We also need to teach our youth or the next generation
How to heal.
how to heal and
Yeah.
how to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the,
Just,
there is this mentality about that I need to be able to fix this with a pill.
mm-hmm.
And sometimes, yeah, but a lot of
Or the
things,
weed.
holy cow, that's just looking for
Yeah.
a simple, easy way out.
Or legal weed became a thing, and that was, where it was anxiety. It was it was kind of for everything. And now we know it leads to
Yeah.
high strains, lead to a lot of psychoses is showing up now. And it's now those numbers are rising because the strains are so high. It's saying that to someone that does, well, weed is natural. Not now. You have to go through the whole explanation again of how, they were 2% to 3, and now they're 10 to 11. It's
To 30 or higher.
Yes.
It's crazy. And we have that series on cannabis-induced psychosis on our channel.
Yes.
And the volume of cannabis defenders who comment is with inaccurate information or just no information is.
The word defender you use is perfect because they're defending their use.
I'm trying to be kind.
Yes,
A
but I got
lot of the
that.
comments. What I've noticed in a lot of the comments addressing cannabis from cannabis defenders, which is a politically correct way to say potheads, I suppose.
Yeah.
But a lot of the comments that come from cannabis defenders, it's really a thing because I read virtually all the comments on our channel.
Me too.
And they are so much more likely to contain misspelled words.
Right.
It is such a thing that
Yes.
it is. Well, okay, let's see where. Oh, there's a misspelled word. There's another one.
Right.
Another thing
Right.
that happens is they will post 5 single sentence comments separately rather than combining them all into one. And
Yes.
it only happens, both of those things. Sometimes there's misspelled words anywhere, but it is so much more frequent with cannabis defenders and the multi-posts when it could all be in one. Only cannabis defenders do that. It's very strange. And the cannabis defenders comment on the fentanyl stories a lot as well.
Yes. Yes. They do.
They will say to the storyteller, don't go blaming the weed. If the storyteller says something about it being a gateway drug or saying,
Right.
well, they started with weed when they were in middle school and then from there it progressed over time. Or whatever kind of comment the storyteller says, inevitably there is some cannabis defender who will say, it wasn't the weed.
Right.
It wasn't such a tragic, important thing. It would be hilarious.
And the first time I had shared the story was Jeremy Kelsey had made a story of my son's beautiful life and the tragic passing with the fentanyl, and he makes many for many people. And in that, I was so up all night reading. The comments just came in so fast. It was viewed so many times of his because I had said that, there was in his toxicology, just reading his toxicology was, stayed up all night. I was just ripped apart with what they were saying. Your boy must have been, I mean, I'll just say it, the cannabis defenders, and it was weed. If he wasn't stupid, he would have bought the right weed. He must not, the things like that. And I made a whole follow-up video the next day of just like, I thought about it all night. I, poured through my information and poured through the toxicology and just did a follow-up and just said, these are the facts. I'm only going to be giving facts. And this is the truth of this is, the facts. And put that back out there. And so, yeah, it's interesting that you say, looking at how they word things, they'll use things that almost sound like they're actually even selling drugs themselves. They're like Fent. They'll say nobody takes Fent, or they don't use, weed. It's just a different, it's almost like slang for, and I've wanted to many times say, but you can look at the picture and you can just kind of see it's like a young person. So I just try to give information, just like, or like prayer hands, just, maybe do some research, so because they're just they're seeking something. And I do know that, so many people feel that way. So I just, hope we can like not offend people and also have it be where it's, I do understand harm reduction, but all these layers.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I think is there's still just a lot of ignorance. Once in a while, I do these videos that are just me ranting about something. Like I did one about stigma, and stigma is just such a wicked beast that has no value. It's just jumping to a conclusion based on preconceived notions and not getting the facts, not understanding the information in a reasonable kind of way.
Absolutely. And you were just talking about that, Kristi, how just the
stigma.
the stigma, and how that affects, like say with the court case, for example, having it,
I'm often asked, and it's for education purposes, but I'm often asked, why is it a murder case? And I often explain it. If you go into a liquor store and you think you're buying Jack Daniels and half that bottle is cyanide, you've been murdered. That's the example I use. But the questioning I have, remember, I'm the bereaved parent, but the questioning I'm given over it and the anger that's directed at me, or they'll blame the person who used as well. I mean, really,
blaming the child, blaming the
they
person that
blame
took
them. Like if that person died of, if they're being charged with murder, then my son should be charged with attempted murder, I think I've been told. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is as we talk about stigma.
The stigma, yeah.
What is
and
told,
wording.
Yeah. Are you told parents in the grief?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is.
So it's bringing it back to a place where we can have conversations. And even if somebody comes at me with anger, me being able to step back and listen to what is being said without an emotional response. We are way too emotional as a society. And a lot is missed when we put our emotions into it and not listen to the facts being presented.
Right.
People get triggered.
Yeah.
And then person that's gotten triggered puts that trigger back on the person who's trying to speak.
And then there's that time we just have to, and I have had to do that many times, just step away and say, I'm not going to make any difference here, and just let that be where I scroll on, and just, or, I blocked people as well.
Learn
a lot of people
from
just
it and move on.
Yes.
Well, and if I do get triggered, because I'm a human being, right? If I do get triggered, I'm always curious to question, why did that trigger me? Because a trigger is an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
A trigger is an opportunity to lean into the discomfort. A trigger is a discomfort.
Yeah.
So lean into it and wonder what part of me isn't able to hear. What part of me did it trigger? Because my reaction is on me.
I think and going back to what you said, that you've made several videos and I've seen them, and I just really, like I said, they just feel so educational. You've been around so much of it. You've heard so many of the stories, like taking it upon ourselves. I do tons of research myself, and I'll stay on the middle of the night. I'll just be like, okay, tomorrow I really want to make a video myself, just with what I'm just thinking right now. I'm like, this is an aha moment. Like, I just need to share it. But I make sure my facts are correct. I'll double check. I make sure all the things that I'm saying are accurate. I mean, on several sources. And then when I repeat it, I repeat that to people that are on viewing us. I am not repeating just like a parroting something else. I am checking several facts. I'm, now with Grok, you can double check, and I tell people to, go way beyond one, 10 sources to make sure my accuracy is, where I'm giving facts, and I can raise some awareness for something that, again, if it just triggered in my own mind, I'm like, wait, that was something I totally knew had happened, but I needed to go back to it and revisit it to make it make sense for someone else to gain something from it.
Yeah. And the fact thing, facts ought to matter more than they do. That what we see a lot of, especially in the cannabis stuff, but in fentanyl stuff as well, is that like the people opposed to cannabis have tons of facts, and they'll just scream facts over and over again, but until they get someone to listen, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And so there has to be I hate to call it an entertainment element, but it has to be something that holds a person's attention long enough where they're gonna hear the information, and even if they argue with it, they heard it.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that struck me about as we started learning about the cannabis stuff, how much of the facts support one side and how much facts don't matter to the other side.
Right.
It's
bizarre.
But both sides,
yeah.
with cannabis, both sides do a lot of the same things. They won't peer over that brick wall to understand anything about the other side.
Yeah.
We see that a lot.
And I wanted to share that on the video that I had made, because I said, I started out with saying, I do understand, because a lot of it was about they use it in recovery or other reasons. I said, first, I want to acknowledge that I understand there's this harm reduction element to it for those, but for those families that have suffered and watched their child suffer without the help that's needed now, because it's mental health and we need way more of that available, compassionate care. But with that, it was more like I started first with, because you will, again, if it's just you're wrong, I know this is my journey with my facts, but I know that there's so many other stories now that are the same, and I've seen them. So I just, when it is your story, that's what you're searching for. So I know that I'm not alone. We know that we're not alone in the fentanyl crisis. We know that our sons, our children, sons and daughters, and that loved ones that struggle, that, it's not one way that'll help to a rehab or a treatment, it's not one way there. We've had people say, well, I would have just taken my child to rehab right away. And you're just like,
you're looking at like, I didn't think
oh,
of
okay.
that.
Maybe 100 times.
It doesn't work that way.
Well, they just would have taken their child and that would have been it.
And they would have been cured. But one of the things that as a parent, and Katrina can talk on this too, is that's often overlooked. Addiction is an illness. It's an illness. Do parents whose children are dying of cancer have to defend trying to get their child well?
I'm sorry, trying to get
their child well.
She's using the comparison to like if a child has cancer, there is like a lot of support and everyone's, just clamoring for help, and they're
surrounded with an army of people supporting their family.
With addiction, you're oftentimes, you're told to, don't enable, rehabs are
just stop.
Yeah. Just stop. And, and those things those are the layers.
Family becomes isolated.
For sure.
And the families often.
Now we have, on our channel, we have 3 stories that involve cannabis being used to treat brain tumors in small children.
Yes, and seizures. I have heard that, and I know that.
Now, there's one of the stories. The one I remember with most detail is I remember most detail about this one because it was the first, and so there's a bigger learning curve for me for sure. But at 2.5 years old, the child was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, and the parents were told, she's got 3 months. You should start sorting out your goodbyes.
Mm.
Parents were told that.
Yeah.
And so when I interviewed her, she was 9 and she's fine.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. I think just in that one moment when you started that, when I had said I know with seizures and stories, I've read many of those, and of course those parents that are struggling to find anything for their child that's suffering in seizures or the non-operable things. What I do understand is that the psychoactive part of the which is what the higher strains that make you put you into psychoses. That was deeply researched as well, where that part that which they can take out of and lower strains of that and more of the CBD. Exactly. So those are the things. So that's the truth. Those are the facts that is, so yes, that is true. And they do help those beautiful stories of course, you'd do anything. You would have,
And it's true too, because it's true as well that there are cancer patients that do use fentanyl patches for a quality of a life because their pain is so intense. Under the right care, with weed to treat a brain tumor, with fentanyl to treat a medical condition correctly, that is what it's
so that goes
for.
into where you're in when you're in rehab, where you're under care, when you're in a clinical state of where you're of cancer, you're under a doctor's care. So yeah, there's time frame where it has gone so out there with the social media part and gaining access to pills on social media platforms, Snapchat. There's a large lawsuit for that. All the things that are coming to the light now, which is what we're doing now in this part of it. We're allowing stories to be told, and then something comes deep. More and more layers are being revealed of how we can yes. So yes, we understand why and how these things happen, the pain and trauma in someone's life that leads them to have their hurts, and levels for hurt are different. It can be a breakup. It can be it can be high anxiety. It can be something for them is deeply hurting them. So they're seeking something, and we're just trying to make it reach out to, there's so many places now with supportive podcasts that have call me now, message me now. We have many people we know right now that we could refer to a young person. Reach out. There's mentorship. There's people that want to help you. So you're not alone. But if we kept it in a box and it was all oh, it's just our dirty secret, then we can't help anyone.
But that goes back to your storytelling podcast.
Your storytelling podcast.
Which means when you interview people, you lift the burden from them.
You do. You give access to it's okay for me to tell my story.
I just listen, and everybody grows when someone shares a story.
Yeah. Yes.
Not just the audience, but the person sharing the story grows too. And so that, I think, is spectacular, and I get to see it over and over.
It's so beautiful.
And so that's way cool.
And when you just said that, the listener, I feel like you should the listener part of the other part of the human connection, and as a storyteller, and you're the listener in this moment for where you're on your Texas Productions, the listener. But I just love that as just a visual of the listener, like a shirt that says, "I'm a listener." I'm a listener. I'll listen to you, because we all need to.
So you guys have done it. So what was it like? The box is weird, right?
Yes. No. I sat down, and again, what was it like? So for what you went first, and how you felt sitting down and telling.
You know what it felt like? My son's life mattered.
Yeah.
My story mattered. The details of his life mattered, because nobody is born to die of fentanyl. Nobody is born.
Yeah, to talk about their lives. Yeah.
I was able to talk about his life. I was able to share the best parts of him. And I said this on another podcast that we did. There's different lighthouses when you're lost at sea and you're in this wave of grief. You're looking for something to stabilize you, something to anchor you, a lifesaver. And so it gave me a place. The pain and all the hurt and all the rehabs and all the money. He was a creative, beautiful human being.
And that's what that storytelling allows. It allows that, like, that moment, like, we're on this side of it and we share with each other, we share with other parents. But when you're asked and and you just do it in your way where that we see the box and there's nothing that felt controlled or anything about it. It, flowed. You leave feeling like lighter. I know that I heard myself say all the things that are the truth about his life. Their
It is
lives.
like open journaling,
Yeah,
right?
open,
It is
yeah.
open journaling to where you can go back of
Yeah.
the different podcasts that Katrina and I have done together, and we can see our growth and we can see how we've grown or how some of our perspectives have changed
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
from
Yeah.
it. And so I learn from me when I watch me,
Mm-hmm.
and I learn from other people as I watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
neither
And
Go ahead.
neither of your stories are done yet, right?
no,
We did
no.
them in August, but they haven't
Yeah.
been.
No,
Well, I
you
mean,
had,
we've recorded the interviews, but they're not
yes.
published yet.
No, and I think when we left, I don't think you had said, my gosh, I think you said you're going to like 3 other states and you had like 8 other days to be on the road. And I was like, oh, because I didn't even have that part in my mind where I was like, well, when will it be out? Blah, blah, blah. Because we had done other podcasts. I just said, oh my gosh, like how many
Yeah,
people you'll be hearing again from. And like, because we know now the side of it, of listening. And
yeah, the process is it's different from like a podcast because we
yes,
integrate the pictures and
I know,
in
I
some
haven't sent you
cases we
pictures.
have more than one storyteller and we switch back and forth between the storytellers and it takes some time.
it's
Each
a lot
story
of time.
takes somewhere between 4 and 8 hours to edit
Wow. Wow.
each story. So
Thank you
it
so
could be
much for
a
this work
while,
that you're
ladies.
doing. Yes. Thank you so much for this work that you do, Glenn. That is, I mean, and there's no time on for us that we got to do it. Like I said, it feels like it was done and released. And if, when it comes, I watched the other stories that are already out and
Uh-huh.
it's like, I just trace them with like my son's, his thing was infinity, but just like, we're all so connected. We're all so connected. And it's almost like you can hear your own story for sure. You hear when you hear another mom share, dad share, and it's like, because there's so many similarities, yet our own journey is so unique to our own. But it's like
Right.
that, like I think, our beautiful boys, our children. And so, I know that I always like try to include our children, but with our stories, our boys were so much alike, but they're so different in so many ways too. We love to talk about them. So a parent loves to always talk about their child. And so it's just hearing that. And you've been doing it since, so 2007 is when it started. You told us about how that happened, where that started with the fentanyl.
The fentanyl story started in November of 2022.
Okay, November of 2022.
And it went
Yeah.
crazy after that.
So that was right after the height. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and that was the DEA summit event here in Houston. And that was when I first started learning about fentanyl, when we were going to the meetings that involved the planning for that event, which we were just a minor part of the event. There was a whole auditorium with speakers and a whole bunch of attendees. And some of them would step out and come down to where we were and share their story.
Yeah.
But that's how it started. And so then it took off. We started hearing from people all over the country. In fact, I can show you a map of where we've been.
I was going to say, how many days on the road are you? And
Kind of a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow,
So,
Glenn. Wow.
And
this is all since November 2022.
Yeah.
And it's
Can you see
current,
all
in
those?
fact, that it keeps changing.
Yes.
We keep
So-
adding more, but
The question I have for you, you've been to different states all over the United States. How
except the
similar?
Northwest for some reason. But
Yeah, you'll get there. But how similar and how different are the stories? California has
it is there's some perspectives that are, I don't know, I guess you would call them politically based, that the people's perspectives about how it needs to be addressed how 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 angry they are at border issues, or
Yes.
how firmly they believe that border issues are a matter of misplaced blame. And so there's some fluctuations with that, and it tends to kind of follow whatever the political standing is of the state we're in.
Yes. That's actually what I thought you would exactly say politically. Yeah.
That's
Did you think
that's a
that's what he would say?
determining
No,
factor,
I
because
wasn't.
that's
I wasn't even thinking that
And my
because
mind went right to politics
no,
because it'll
because
be,
for
yeah.
me in
Mhm.
my brain, I don't think it's a political, quote unquote. I'm putting this loosely. It's a political issue always because people are dying on the right and they're dying on the left. We need to
Right.
figure out the solution.
Yeah.
right. There is
But
there is no politics to it. There's no
right. That doesn't discriminate with politics.
It's
What?
not
Just
more
the
likely to affect Republicans or Democrats. It's not
Yeah,
going
that's what
to
I'm trying
right.
to
What I heard
say.
him say
affect
though in that,
conservatives or
yeah,
liberals more.
yeah,
It's not like that. It's one of those where everybody ought to be able to come together
right.
Yes.
and
I think what I
not.
heard you say was the anger or the differentials at the anger level, or actually the maybe the blame level in
Yeah,
from
yeah.
yeah,
Where the potential solution lies
right, right. And I think that's where we're all
in
at. It's like
addressing
yes,
this issue or this issue
yes, and
or whatever, and
I was
the issue nobody touches is demand.
I know.
mm,
I know.
And
And why is there the demand in the United States? It's not everywhere.
it's not yeah, in Europe. I mean,
right.
it's ketamine, it's different, but it's because it is
The
excess. You know, it's
the
the
demand
access here.
is being impaired, and the
Yeah,
demand could be inspired by it could be something that's triggered by some sort of trauma, but regardless, it's if you recognize it as a business venture that's driven by demand,
money.
that doesn't mean
Mm,
that people don't set out to become addicts. They don't set out to take a lethal dose or they certainly
mm-mm.
don't set out to be poisoned.
No.
But the demand thing, that's a thing. You mentioned something about making sobriety cool again, or
Mhm.
Normalizing
that
sobriety.
Yeah,
normalize it. Thank you. Yeah, I forget stuff.
That's
I
okay. Me
usually, when
too.
I'm doing the interviews, I'm writing things down.
Mm,
So anyway, so normalizing it. There's an organization that's a kind of it's got chapters all over the country. It's an organization called SAFE,
mhm.
Students Advocating Fentanyl Education, and a big part of their mission is to make it cool, not to do drugs,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
make it cool not to rely on impairment for entertainment,
I
not
see
to
that
rely
growing.
on impairment
Yeah.
to numb whatever's bothering you.
I like to post those. I see that growing as well. And when I do see those that choose to do like like say a young man that works out a lot and he's using his page to do like the being sober and making that part cool, working out and showing what he does to do that. And and the visuals for some, because that's what we are in a society of visuals, and that's for that younger person. They're not going to be listening to Kristi and I as moms, but if they turn on and they get that as they open their phone and they see some young person that is doing those cool things soberly and talking about that, that is where they're going to learn it from.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to
So
go, yeah,
that's certainly one of those things that needs attention.
yeah,
That
Right.
whole
yeah, definitely.
not make it cool. That
No,
make it
yes,
a achievement to be sober. Make it an
yeah,
achievement to find entertainment without.
Well, I remember as a young, I was scared of substance and how I was criticized and made fun of and not told I was boring. Now remember, this was when I was young. I still never have used any substance, but that has stayed with me. They didn't want to use substance. Forget the fact I already
yeah.
saw the devastation it did in my family.
I think
Right.
that's,
And
yeah, just changing
So that's
it
the
is,
narrative.
it is it's hard for teenagers to sort out what's real, what's honest, and
right,
what's parents being paranoid or
right.
or what's kids being I don't know, the opposite of that. What's when kids are endorsing marijuana or, well, just this one pill. It's just an Adderall. It'll help you study or whatever. When kids are saying those things, it's hard for kids to sort it out. And all sides have contributed to that. But when you started talking about when you were in school, when I was in middle school, there was this big drug presentation. Cops came in and they had this big board that had all kind of boards, all kind of
The DARE.
drugs and baggies stapled to it. It was before the DARE program. Thank you very much. But I sat in that room with I don't know, 40 other kids my age. Many of them I knew, and I listened to a cop talk about what stood out to me most was he was talking about cannabis and how dangerous it is and how big of a threat to your life it is. And then he talked about other things, talked about cocaine and Quaaludes and right on heroin, right on down the line. But they talked about marijuana first. And in the classroom, within my line of sight, there was 4 or 5 people I knew who regularly used marijuana. And what I was seeing right there in front of me wasn't consistent with what this cop was telling me for the one subject that I knew something about, because I had friends who were using it, and so I was familiar with it. And so if the one thing I knew about the cop was not being straightforward about, I would assume it's not being straightforward about any of the other drugs he's talking about either. Because the only one that I have facts that contradict his claims, it wasn't accurate in my mind.
My husband and I have talked about this many times with the weed. It's like, because when you looked around and it was like, oh, that's just like my buddies are smoking it. But it is that the reason why it is that gateway at a young mind. That's why I'm so grateful to hear that even back then started with the weed, because it was, that little bit of that funny stone kind of thing. But at a young mind, it's that 3 out of 5 is what I researched, 3 out of 5 in that yet before the age of 15. If that the brain is going to trigger to psychoses within a schizophrenia or schizophrenia. My son was diagnosed with the weed high strains, but it starts with where your friends change, your desire to go do things, your game plan changes for your life. You just slowly start letting go of those things. It's so softening of that part of your brain that if you stay with that crowd, then you're with that stoner crowd kind of that is, that's the acceptable, group. And that's why starting there is, where you might have had aspirations to go on to college, and it just kind of lets those things not be as important because it's such a softening of the brain.
It does. It raises, and it raises doubt for anything else the grown-ups tell you.
Glen, thank you so much for coming on. And I know that you have you're watching your own YouTube channel, which I want to watch. That's something that's new that you just put out, or is that
Yeah, it's a new fentanyl awareness. It's for the fentanyl awareness story series. It's actually a story that we had trouble finishing because we just misplaced the pictures that went with it, and so it's from
the technical we're having right now. You're not moving, but I'm gonna leave this in.
I don't know why everything is showing like nothing changed here.
Yeah,
it's everything is fine. So I
don't know either, but these are these things that we can't control, but we can just say that this was just a powerful talk with you, touched on many things. And we just thank you so much for all that you do. And from all the parents that, Eric Krittendorf is the one that sent us the link to go, he's like, you should go do your video. And he's such a powerful speaker with his daughter, Alyssa, but that was how we found you to go do our video with you. And
there's so many more.
And there's so many more
we know that we can share their stories.
Yes. In fact, the one that I posted of the Not One More, the one that said the 3 words of not my child, Faye from Not One More. So Kristi knew her, and I had just posted that without her knowing. I didn't even know, she doesn't know what I'm going to post. So I sort of run the DK Instagram part, but it's in that way that it's so connected. We're so connected. And thank you for being on this journey, just helping so many parents, but just being an educator, in all that you're sharing. Thank you so much for your time, Glen. And we'll be talking soon. Hopefully we can, when the videos come out, maybe we can do another one. And I'm going to watch your Fentanyl on YouTube later tonight.
And I'll be live afterwards.
Oh, wonderful.
Assuming I'm not frozen.
Okay.
So
Well,
we'll
go drink some hot tea and then freeze yourself.
Well, yes. Okay, Glen, we'll get into that and shifting gears. Thank you for taking the time with us. It was extra today, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Glen.
Talk to you soon, Glen.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.